You're listening to Her Table Podcast with Alexis and Malia, where we explore what walking with Jesus looks like in real life. No filter, no pressure, where God meets us at the table, and there's always room for you. Hello,
Hey!
hello.
Welcome.
Ooh, happy Tuesdays.
Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. I thought you were going to say
I said talk about it. Oh my god, are we going to share this?
Oh, yes, girl. Have some space.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, this Sunday at church, we had an amazing Christmas concert.
Oh, I love this
All the littles did so well. Can you just push that over? Just gives me thank you. And all, our production team, worship team was amazing. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to our church for putting it all together. It was so good. But what a great send off into the Christmas season. Honestly, sometimes I find it a little hard to have joy around these times. Had a lot of deaths going on at this time, a lot of remembrance.
I just was talking to my sister about this on my way over here because she said a coworker of hers passed and then this person, and I'm like, it's this time of the year from Thanksgiving until New Year's.
It's a hard time for people, and a lot of people take their own lives. A lot of people are partying out, drinking. Maybe not necessarily you, but other people. A lot of accidents. We've had 2 fatal accidents this year here in our town.
Wrong way on the highway.
Drivers, yeah. And the victim was one who ended up not making it both times. So it's hard. Times you're scrambling, the weight of, Christmas gifts and going to this party, that party, be at this person's house, make sure you're including everybody, plus life on top financially. It could be so draining this time of year. And daylight savings, making it dark. Don't love that. I miss my 7 p.m. sunsets.
Yes.
Love my good source of vitamin D.
Well,
but
with that being said, because this is it can be a very sad time of the year for everybody. I'm pretty sure you could throw a rock in a crowd and hit somebody who's got a sad story. For this time of the year, which why I think this theme for this week is so important to the both of us, I feel like, and just maybe all our listeners too. Covered in love, and start there. That is what this time of the year I feel like should be about. I think it should be that way all the time.
Yeah.
But let's be real. This time of the year, it always feels like there's something extra in the air.
So it's the Christmas music in every department store.
I think it's the decorations,
the lights,
all of it. I think this time of the year is when people who maybe normally aren't cheery or nice to a stranger, between Thanksgiving and like Christmas, I feel like
Thanksgiving.
This is when the world gets a little softer. It's still pretty dusty, if you're asking me. So this week is Covered in Love, Called to His Purpose. And Malia's got a whole booklet over there.
I listened.
She went in this week.
I'll tie in where I kind of went left, but I went completely left. I don't know if what I have to say completely falls under this category, but it's something that God put on my heart to talk about this week, and it's just happening. It happened, and it came out, and it's on the paper now.
It's on the paper. Mine isn't so much. Mine's on the paper, too. Mine's on the paper, too. But I think I focus mostly on one. I say one thing, but a lot of things branch off from this one thing. I was doing some reading, and the one thing that popped up and just kept standing out to me was obedience. There wasn't a lot of stories about Jesus when he was younger and things like that, but Jesus, as we talked about last week, he came as a baby. He knew what was going to happen. He knew the burden he was going to bear when he came here. I wrote down just like a few tidbits that I want to, hopefully we can just kind of branch off of. No stories or anything like that, but I do have one passage I wanted to read. But to start, I have John 10:18, and it says, and I believe this is the New Living Translation.
This easier reading.
You know me, girl, and my dyslexia.
I literally just bought a children's devotional.
Yes, whatever's easy is for you to understand.
Right.
So it's John 10:18, not 1 John or 2 John, just John, because that can be confusing too.
It gets me.
There is that's what it should be called.
Just John.
And it says, oh wait, did you get? You almost?
No, sorry, I'm okay.
You got it. All right. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have the authority to lay it down and the authority to take it back up again. This command I receive from my Father. That's a man who says, not that he's in control, but he didn't have to come.
Right.
He didn't have to do any of this. And hold on, I gotta grab my Bible. I put a little tab so I wouldn't forget. This is also still in John. This one is John 4:38. And it looks like there's like a few of them. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It says, Jesus's obedience to the Father's will. And there's that word again, obedience. That's the root of Jesus's story. He was obedient to his purpose.
Right.
Even when those around him said, no, that can't happen. Jesus was like, back up, you heathen. Like, how dare you go against what my Father says needs to happen? It says, the theme of Jesus' obedience to God the Father is prominent in the Gospel of John in both his action and his word. His mission on earth was to accomplish the will of his Father, the one who had sent him. Out of love for his Father, he obeyed his Father's command. In becoming human, Jesus, as God's Son, freely submitted himself to the Father in living in obedience, dependent on him. He was a costly obedience because leading a fully human life involved suffering. Again, he knew. And I think in this time of the year, sometimes we forget why God sent Jesus. Yes, the gifts are good and the food is great and all of that. But God sent Jesus here for a reason. And that was to save the lost, and for anybody who believes in him gets to live
vulnerable. The most vulnerable.
We talked about this. He could have came here as a king, as a full-grown man.
Yeah.
He could have said, hey, you know what? I'm supposed to die, but here, let me just show you. In the back, like,
right. Watch this. Do a flip.
Okay. And again, Jesus didn't start performing his miracles until he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
Late 20s, early 30s. Let's not forget, Jesus died when he was 33. He was very young.
It's not mentioned, but one of the very first miracles of Jesus is him. And I feel like we lose sight of that too.
Okay.
He did all these miracles, but the very first one in his life was him.
Okay. I've been listening to, I'm going to get this name wrong. Pentatonics.
Pentatonics?
Pentatonics.
Are you talking about the a cappella group?
Yeah. And they do Mary, Did You Know?
Don't.
You know,
Get
I
me
know.
started.
I am not gonna.
Don't.
But it's such a beautiful song. And I've been listening to it lately. And there's a line that says something like,
Don't.
Mary, did you know the baby that you saved would end up saving you, or something? Or the baby that you delivered would end up delivering you. On the ground.
I can't.
Dead.
I'm gonna cry.
I know, I'm sorry.
Can't.
But
yeah.
They knew what was going to happen.
Right, like we talked a lot this month about Mary and what that, in not a negative light, but in an anxiety aspect, looked like for her. But really, she told she was going to have the Messiah. But did she know what was really to come? The real miracle that was the work and God chose and called of her. You know.
I think she knew. Like you said, where is it? I wrote it down. Mark 8:31. It says, and then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teacher of law, that he must be killed, and after 3 days rise again. Now this pops up in other places in the Bible, so it's not just in Mark, it's also in Matthew, and it's also in Luke, literally verbatim.
Yeah.
I don't know if she knew right then in that moment. Like, I don't know if they were like, okay, so you're gonna have the Messiah. He's gonna live till he's about 33. Then he's going to like. I don't think they were giving her the rundown.
Right.
However,
I think she knew great things would come.
I think she knew great things were going to come, but with great things comes great suffering. And I think she knew that. And she raised that baby and protected that baby as she should, as any mother would.
I'm a great mom.
I have one of these, my little blurb says, Jesus lived each day with love, humility, and obedience. What I was going to say is this time of the year, knowing these things and knowing that Jesus knew what was going to happen. And he was like, I'm still going to go and die for all of us.
Right.
For those who don't believe in him. For those who do believe in him. For those who crucify. He came for everybody. He wasn't able to save everybody. But he came with the intention of collecting the lost. Which was all of us.
Right.
Maybe not all of us. There was a few of us. Okay, my boy just looked like Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
My boy.
I got into it about Enoch with some, not like into it badly about Enoch the other day, but somebody who I didn't even think even knew anything about that. And it was a really interesting conversation from a non-religious standpoint, from somebody but talking about a religious standpoint.
Enoch is a gotta be careful because he was pretty righteous. He was a righteous man.
Mm-hmm.
But back to, I could go on and on and on. That's why I wrote little blurbs. Jesus' endurance wasn't just about death. It was about victory over sin and the promise of new life. Ain't that the truth? And I feel
sorry. I just have to mark this so I don't lose it.
I feel like in life, it's easy for us to say, well, what if this doesn't work? What if that doesn't work?
Right.
But it's also easy to say, well, what if it does work? Jesus died for all of us to be born again. I seen it on me, and it said something like, oh, I was born this way. And she said, well, be born again. I said, oh. I said, no, she didn't. I think it was, I forget the topic. I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers, but, she was like, that, the way you're doing this is not how God, oh yeah, well, I was born this way. And she said, well, be born again. And I said,
right.
Okay, well, interesting way to look at it. because that is one of the promises is a new life, is a life free from sin and, um, we were talking about conviction and things like that. And sometimes that comes from loved ones. And, we were talking before this, and Malia she didn't need to read me the way she did, but I don't know what I did to her last week. But sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes we're so in the box we don't see it, or we do see it and we're just like, yeah, but this, that, and the that, and you need somebody on the outside to be like, I don't think this is, like you were saying, these missions. You're not completing what you're supposed to do
right
in life, and that's why you're not. Why do I keep getting skipped over for this promotion? Well, your boss keeps seeing you yell at the secretary because she doesn't make your coffee right, and that's not really, the company image they're looking to have.
Right.
And same thing, we ask for grace, we ask for patience, we ask for this, and then we get upset because somebody cuts us off.
But it's so important to have somebody who's never going to let you steer away from what God has in mind for you.
And that's part of being a Christian. And that's the hard part that I think some people forget. It's very easy to condemn somebody. Oh, well, I can't be their friend because they did this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're keeping score, we've all
done this,
got a page in that book. None of us are blameless. One sin isn't better than the other. And I say this all the time. Just because you're cheating on your wife doesn't mean your sin is any different than me, taking, my coworker's lunch knowing it was his.
Stealing.
It's not a big, it seems like not a big deal, but God has seen a graph, those like line graphs. And I said, this is how we see the world. And it's like, one line graph was bigger than the other. One was little, one was medium, yeah. Two were the same size. And I was like, this is how we see sin.
Is it a bar graph?
Thank you. I couldn't think of
I
the
might
word.
be wrong,
No,
but is
that's
that
exactly
right? Okay.
And, obviously it were different, and it said, this is how we as humans see sin. But then it was aerial view of just looking down where you just saw the squares.
How God sees.
And this is how God sees sin. Like, there's no...
Yeah. No, I saw
it could be your sin could be this big, but God, so it's tough. It's tough. But Jesus, even with the cross before him, he lived with compassion, service, and sacrifice. He showed us how to live with purpose and faith. I feel like I say this in some variation every week, but to me, I feel like it is so important for us to be kind and understanding to those around us. However, without being like a doormat, you don't need to accept outrageous behavior. Yes, have some compassion, maybe try to understand where that person's coming from and why they're acting that way. It's not for us to fix or anything like that. That's what he came for.
Right.
He paid that price. It's not...
I have to come from a place as a woman in Christ of understanding, nurturing, love. And that's not to say that boundaries can't be placed or that, you can get aggravated by a situation, whatever. But at the end of the day, every moment of anger is disrupting your peace. And usually when you're in those moments of anger, it's a very selfish look upon yourself and not truly understanding the bigger picture. And that's not to say you're right or wrong in that situation. You could be wrong, you could be right, but it's about taking accountability for what has been done and what can we do to move forward. The stupid cliche of like, it's not how you fall down or how many times you fall down, it's about how you pick yourself back up. But that's so true. How you choose to walk away from that situation is a reflection of who you are.
But also, if that horse keeps kicking you when you try to get on, maybe you should stop trying to get on. I'm just saying. Okay? I get it, though. Yes. It's tough. I guess my main thing with this is obedience is important. It is the foundation of being a Christian. Because without obedience, you don't really have anything to stand on. And not to also sound cliche, but that's all Jesus had.
Right.
He had no money. He didn't have riches.
Mm-hmm.
He was born to two average
Joe Schmoes.
Joe Schmoes.
We love you guys, though.
Man. But he was obedient. He had faith. And he knew. I always see on TikTok, it says things like, you get on a plane, you trust the pilot.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant, you trust the chef. You know, you buy a product, you trust the consumer, whatever. I said, oh, ain't that the truth?
Sometimes we fall into false idols on a daily and we don't even recognize it.
Okay. I'm like trying not to get right on social media as soon as I'm like, I can't
so
even see it. I'm like
hard.
this.
No, do you
With
remember
my
when I did that
glasses
social
on.
media cleanse for like a week?
Mm-hmm.
I found myself not having any purpose, but just picking my phone up just to pick it up. And I'm like, ooh.
Me too.
It's
me too. Hold to falling.
Yeah. No, I hate it. But it's also an addiction that I haven't broke myself from.
Mm. We're all in that boat, girl. We're all in that boat. That is my spiel.
Oh, okay.
Yes, queen.
Well, thank you. That was great. I feel like yours really reflected what we had to offer this week.
I told you, I was like, don't be cheating on my favorite girl. I see he's looking.
So like we say all the time is we always have these like guiding questions, guiding notes for each week. And I had this note that said faith under pressure, what life and challenges Jesus endured. And I meant to go under the of what Jesus endured, but I somehow went into having true peace through Christ. And it was literally like, oh, faith under pressure. Then I was like, oh, like peace under pressure, because then I found this sermon by Mike Todd that was like peace under pressure into it, and then I just went bold. So we're about to dive into that hole together. But we can only through Christ. You're finding peace in the fleshly